I'm gonna ask you an irrelevant question in relation to the console makers. Can you dominate the console industry without Japan? My answer is yes. And if you say no, I'll point to the Xbox 360 being neck and neck with the PlayStation 3 number-wise while having zero presence in that location. So why are filling the boys and girls looking to plant a flag in that region after a good few failed attempts? Well, I think it's a matter of opportunity. Xbox doesn't need Japan, and Japan doesn't necessarily want Xbox. But sometimes the stars align. Sometimes everything just falls into place. Technology grows and the market changes. So let's talk Asia, the land of the rising sun, and video games. The reason why you heard Sony was shutting down Japanese studios isn't because they don't rate those games. It's because there's been a shift on their part to move towards the Western audience. And you might disagree with them doing that, but the numbers don't lie. If I were to ask you, what are Sony's biggest IPs? They would come from the Western studios. If I also ask you what games were you looking forward to, it would come from the Western studios. If I asked you where PlayStation is dominating sales-wise, you would point to the Western side of the map. Now, I do disagree that Sony are completely ignoring the Japanese market. It's more of them adapting to the trends, and that trend is moving away from them. And the console maker that has capitalized on this growing trend is Nintendo. You see, Japan has been famously known for loving handhelds, and they've been moving towards that as interest in home consoles decline. But when I say handhelds, that word isn't exclusive to Nintendo. A better word would be mobile gaming. So the real winners here is anyone who can get their games on any connected handheld device, which of course includes the App Store's developers. So where does Microsoft fit into all this? Well, one of the main reasons why the gaming division is extremely important to Microsoft, apart from the fact that it's one of the fastest growing entertainment industries, also bigger than the music and film combined, it's because Microsoft is a software and cloud-based company. And the future isn't selling you a €500 machine, nor is it a dedicated Nintendo handheld that has a €300 price tag. The future is less stressful and easier than that. It's buying and playing what you want anytime, at everywhere at any time. It's also subscription and, more importantly, streaming. Let's leave Japan for a bit. Phil Spencer mentioned in South Korea they have more gamers playing on Xcloud via Gamepass than people actually buying their consoles. Think on that for a second. More people signing up to the service, playing via streaming, than actually buying the console. If the internet infrastructure is there and the market profit says it's moving towards mobile and PC gaming, and you can now replicate that experience on any connected mobile device while removing the barrier to entry, are you not in a winning position? Do you not collide with the Japanese market? Is that not a perfect merger between Xbox and Japan? I'm not gonna say Japan and South Korea are the same. You got to deal with each market separately, but I believe the guys at Xbox see the similarities. Microsoft doesn't want you to buy an Xbox console, they actually lose money on the Xbox console. What they would prefer is for you to join their ecosystem via subscription or streaming, or both. And what you would prefer is easy and fast access to these games. It's a win-win position. So back to the question. Can you dominate the console video game market without Japan? It's irrelevant. This question is irrelevant because that shouldn't be your goal unless you want to become Blockbuster. You don't want to become Blockbuster. Be like Reed and Mark from Netflix. Think ahead. The future is streaming. I'm interested to see what Sony is going to do. I'm interested to see what Nintendo is going to do. Because Microsoft is in a good position. You might not feel it. It might not look like it. But if you look closely, you'll see it. Let's double back to Japan in the near future and we see what the story is. I'm not saying Microsoft takes Japan. I'm saying the other guys need to adapt. Because the numbers don't lie. The numbers never lie. The land of the rising sun is important. And if Microsoft gains a larger share of that market, it's not because they got the right games per se. It's not because they've done a great job. It's because the stars have aligned. Gamepass, and more importantly, Xcloud, and the trend to mobile gaming has enabled that. What a coincidence. So Microsoft doesn't have to look for Japan per se, and Japan doesn't have to look for Microsoft. These things sometimes just happen. I mean, it makes sense.